Guys, you don't owe the world anything. You owe them nothing. You owe these people nothing. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to go through their evaluations correctly. You don't need to do any of that. Guys, Somer Del Piso here. I'm here to give you guys a little reminder, just in case you guys forgot, that yes, there are rites of passage in the world based on tradition, based on various cultures, right? You're part of this culture, you have to have X amount of goods, Y amount of understanding about Z, and then you are able to now be a respected person, a respected individual. I'm here to say that all of these traditions, all of these ways of life are all, I'm telling you, garbage. I'm telling you. These traditions are nothing. They're not important, and you should not listen to any of these kind of things, right? Like, comment, subscribe, guys. We're gonna get into this right now, right? I'm gonna go right into it. I had an interesting conversation at work yesterday. We had an interesting couple. This guy, he's from Georgia. You know, guys, if you don't know, I work at a Georgian restaurant. Georgia as in like Eastern Europe. You know, south of Russia, north of Armenia, northwest of Azerbaijan. Right in the middle there. A little small country. There was a guy from Georgia. He had a wife, this famous actress from Kazakhstan. I guess that she was from Kazakhstan. She had like an Asian look, but she was speaking the Paruski. But that doesn't matter. We were all having a conversation after they were about to leave. And she said that she was very impressed at Georgian men, especially because they're like real men and they will do anything to die for their country. They'll fight for their country, right? To the very end. And I didn't say my full opinion on the matter because I would be out of a job, right? But I had a very strong opinion about that. It's beautiful that people feel this connection with their countries, with their their nationalities, and the traditions and the cultures thereof. But that has nothing to do with who a person truly is. There, you may have genetic ties to, I don't know, Latvia, to Ethiopia, right? But that's not who you are. Who you are is an amalgam of the experiences that you've taken in this world, you've gone through in this world, how you've taught yourself, how things have taught you, how you respond to external stimuli, whether that be physical stimuli, psychological stimuli, spiritual stimuli, all of that kinds of things, and how you put up resilience to a lot of these seemingly negative stimuli. And negative stimuli, that's classified as things that hurt you physically, things that make you sad and feel negative emotions. These are negative stimuli, and that's who you are. Your affinity for Jean-Paul Gaultier cologne versus Tom Ford Black Orchid, right? This is who you are. You are not a Georgian is not your entire personality. Being Caribbean is not your entire personality. It's a small part. You had no choice in the matter. You don't owe these cultures anything. You owe them nothing. Being someone from Colombia or Georgia, I'm gonna stick to like one country because I don't want to bring you guys all around the place, right? Being part of these cultures, that doesn't mean you owe them anything. You don't owe them your morality. You don't owe them your loyalty. You don't owe them anything. When you were born here, you didn't choose to be Colombian. You didn't choose to be Georgian. You didn't choose to be Russian. You just happen to be these things. And now you have no choice but to protect these bastions, these ways of life, because you're expected to by the world, because you were born in that culture. There's a lot of people in the world, everywhere, a lot of these guys that feel like they have to marry the same person from their culture because they're afraid of going out. Everyone is so scared to get out of their little circles, their little social circles. They believe they owe the world their energy and effort based on the cultures that they're brought up in, based on the lives that they lived. There's a huge rhetoric on the internet too, where it's like, yeah, if you're dark-skinned, you have to marry dark-skinned because that's what you're supposed to do. And it's like, where's these rules? Is this like some sort of cardinal law? Like, is this part of the 10 Commandments? Is the 11th Amendment to the 10 Commandments? Like, you don't owe this world anything. Gentlemen, you owe this world nothing. You do not have to do whatever the world tells you to do just because you are a certain type of person or you have a proclivity towards a certain type of behavior. or you're part of a certain culture. You do not owe the world anything. If you want to practice semen retention as from a culture that prioritizes heavy sex, by the way, with no ties or no sort of commitment, like the Caribbean culture, by the way, just FYI. If you don't want to do that, but you're born as a Caribbean, you don't have to do that. You can go explore Africa. You can go explore Latin America. You can go explore Central Asia if you want, and then identify with their culture. If they don't accept you, that's whatever too, because these guys are behind. The entire world is under this hypnosis, filial loyalty or cultural loyalty. Just because you are part of that culture, you owe no one anything. You don't owe anyone anything. You do not owe anyone anything. The only thing you owe to it yourself as a male is finding out physically the limits of your body. Push your body to the absolute limit, whether that be physical, whether that be mental. I would do both. And spiritual. Let's hit the triumvirate. Physical, mental, spiritual. Find out how far you can carry yourself in the practice of semen retention. That's what makes real men. Not the fact that you are born in a country and you choose to protect that country. That means nothing. that means nothing. Now, that's not to say that soldiers are worthless. They're not worthless. It's good to fight for your country because, of course, without the sovereignty of your country, you're under the thrall and the tyranny of another country that might not have the best interests of your country at heart. And so you fight for your right to sovereignty of the self. That's why you fight. You don't fight because this country is going to have a new leader. If the new leader still persists in sovereignty and individualism for the individual, okay, it's whatever. Who cares, right? Don't think just because you're Caribbean, you have to follow the ways of the Caribbean. Just because you're born Georgian, you have to follow the ways of the Georgian. You need to look deeply into the traditions of the cultures that you're born in. Look at the provenance of those people that are from these cultures, right? They talk a lot about Africa, right? And Africa, a lot of the Africans here that come to this country, the United States, they separate themselves from African Americans because, we're known for being very, very belligerent and rude and disruptive to the status quo and the systems in place that have brought this country to this point in time, right? This prosperous point in time. You need to seek the limits of yourself. Seek the absolute limit of what you can do. It doesn't matter who you are, what culture you're from. As long as you are altruistic to the unable, as long as you are disciplined in the ways of sexual semen retention, as long as you believe in a power greater than yourself, as long as you learn how to surrender yourself to destiny, but you dance that middle point of surrendering yourself to destiny and utilizing your free will to push yourself as far as destiny allows you within that pocket of time. As long as you do that, it doesn't matter what color you are. You're an ultimate individual. And that separates you from a lot of these guys whose whole identity is the nationality of a country. I never cared about my roots. I really don't, right? I'm Nigerian Caribbean. I've never been to Nigeria. I've been to the Caribbean many, many times. And I'm just not interested in learning more about these cultures. Dead serious. Right? Because right now, first of all, the things that are important to me are sexual discipline, being very, very disciplined in the practice of semen retention, because that's a spring well and a springboard to a whole bunch of other things in life that my bloodline wasn't even perceiving, by the way, because they were not ready. They worried about little things like trying to be seen as the best person in their village or cities. I don't care about any of these things. I don't care about legacy. I do not care about tradition. And I don't think that you guys should do the same. I'm telling you, it does nothing. It basically has you constantly under a moving sword of Damocles, right? If you guys don't know that story, it was like, I think some king trying to rule. He was forced to make decisions under this moving sword of Damocles that could, break the rope could break and then it could, slice him at any moment and end his life. That's how you would be living, trying to be Caribbean, trying to be Georgian, trying to be Ukrainian. Like, who cares? The only thing personally I really worry about is ascension. And if I start a family in this world, if that's part of the great will, or if it's part of my destiny, then so be it. If it's not, it's whatever. I'm gonna just keep moving forward. I'm gonna still try to do my best in this world. But one thing I noticed, right? I'm gonna have another story too. I went to North Macedonia like last month, and I went to some small village and I met these kids, these young guys, and they felt proud about not wanting to go to school. I've never heard that kind of stuff in my life. They also expressed this huge dislike to Albania, and they were saying stuff like Kosovo, Serbia, and I'm just like, okay, number one, let's visit the school thing. Do you unironically believe that you'll be a successful person without education? Number one, I laid it straight to them. Number two, yeah, Kosovo, Serbia. Who the hell cares? You're broke in Kriva Palanka living with your parents. You're broke in a small village in North Macedonia. The GDP of North Macedonia gotta be under $1 billion. Something like, it's very low. Skopje is their capital. I guess Ohrid gets a lot of tourism dollars. No one's going to Kriva Palanka. I've never heard anyone wanting to visit Skopje. This is just a small example, guys, but I'm just breaking it down. Why are you incredibly nationalist to a country? First of all, that's also in debt, I think. No, that's Montenegro. I was going to say that they're in debt to the Chinese to put highways through their country, but that's Montenegro. Why would you be heavily nationalist for a country that you did not choose to be born in, whose GDP is incredibly low and opportunities for higher education and higher learning is incredibly low as well? I would only take what I could, which are the genetics that you can't change, which are the genetics of the North Macedonian culture, people, genetic pool, whatever, and try to power up in life. Like, I just don't understand their points of view. There's a lot of people like this. I went to Serbia. I love Serbia. I really do. That country's amazing. The people are great. We had a guy, I remember I was telling him, he was asking me, where have you gone in Eastern Europe already? And I said, I went to Albania, and he got so prideful saying, oh, we don't really like those people. We don't really like that personality, those personalities. They're very different from us. I'm like, who cares? Have you been to college? Have you learned about the ways of Buddhism, which, by the way, is accessible to all souls everywhere, that talks about the subjugation of the self, austerity measures on the self to have a higher reward. You get much more in tap with the metaphysical aspects of the self and the world and the relations thereof. The higher realms. What do they mean? What is Jesus saying? Really? Like, who cares about any of these traditions? And this is what I'm saying, guys. You don't owe this place anything. You don't owe the world anything. You owe it to yourself to become the most powerful individual that is. And if that means separating from the heathen, that is your culture and nationality, the ideas of nationality and culture being the zenith of importance and goals for a man, an individual, then so be it. I'm telling you. I walk around, yes, I am a black dude. Yes, I am Caribbean. Yes, I'm Nigerian. You ask me what I'm into drum and bass. Like to travel all over the world. I like IT, right? I have a YouTube channel and I talk about ascension for all souls, indiscriminate of color, culture, religion, right? I talk about finance. I like to take care of myself. I like to go to the gym excessively, right? I like to eat healthy. That's who I am. That's who I am. How do you feel about being a Nigerian man living in the United States? How do you feel being an African American and having to, not having access to as many jobs as the people, the majority? I don't care. I work a lot. I've gotten good jobs. I don't know if I've been discriminated against. Probably not. But who cares? I work 2 jobs and I make enough money to travel whenever I like. I don't give a damn about color. I don't care a damn about my culture. I do not care about anything tradition-wise. I really don't. And I'm telling you to liberate, the first step in liberating yourselves, gentlemen, of course, in addition to continence, sexual continence. Because I'm telling you as a man, you separate from the psychological operation that is adult film content, right? You separate yourself from that, and then you stay within silence. You stay within yourself. You understand your proclivities of mind, right? When you're away from adult film content, that escape route that a lot of us use, not me, a lot of you guys use. I've been out of the game for a very long time. A lot of you guys use to cope with whatever it is that you are, because your silly parents, you're these guys that are imprisoned, incarcerated by false notions of loyalty to tradition and culture. They did not know about this stuff. They went to church constantly. They went to dinners, family dinners and whatnot, and not once do they talk about subjugation of the self, of the animal self, so we can rise higher. They have never told you that. They will never tell you that. The way that they go about success, your parents, right, it's a seemingly straight path, right? They can indulge whenever they want. They drink alcohol. They smoke cigarettes excessively, destroying the body and severing the antennas of the body to have connection with the spiritual aspects and the metaphysical aspects of this world. They'll never tell you that because they haven't gone that deep, because they're worried about tradition and they're worried about culture and nationality and how you, as someone from that nationality, is contributing to that nationality and perpetuating its life on this earth. Who cares? Who cares? I'm telling you that, guys. With that being said, I'm done with this video, guys. If you enjoyed that kind of content, like, comment, subscribe, share the video with some peers. Don't ever let this place get you down. I'm telling you, this world is delusional. It's all caught under a deep, massive hypnosis. Talking about nationality, who, like, you have to be with this person, you got to go with this person, you have to, as a person from this culture, you have to do this. You don't. The only thing you need to do is control your eyes, right? So your eyes are not wandering and you don't wander into sin, which affects all souls equally. You make sure that you are controlled sexually. You control yourself. You adhere to a higher power. You follow the laws. You do not take vengeance upon people of the world, because you are of them now, and you will be subject to the same punishment that they will get, right? That they receive on the daily. Because this punishment is, I'm telling you, whether it be loss of finances, disease of mind, disease of the body, they all suffer, really, unnecessarily, by the way. And you don't need to do that, but you do that. You do fall into that when you fall into their ways. You take vengeance upon other people. Right? I'm telling you, this is just the way it goes, guys. I love you all. Stay radiant. I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Woo!